The Insured Zone. The Insured Zone with Betensured.
Hello guys, welcome back to the Betensured Zone, your ultimate destination for football predictions and analysis. Join me, your host and team, the Sports Soccer, as we dive into the world of football and bring you the most accurate predictions and insightful analysis. From the ongoing Euros 2024 to the Copa America and other football leagues, we've got you covered with all expert prediction and in-depth analysis. So if you're ready to stay ahead of the game and make informed predictions, then you are in the right place. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more football content and predictions from Betensured. And now, let's get started.
Smarter the bank all the time with Betensured. Choose Betensured.
Before getting into today's predictions, let's first of all check out the predictions from last week. It is no longer news that the Copa America kicked off last week, and we've seen so many fantastic goals scored. And also not to forget that the Euros 2024 is down to the knockout stages, which will be starting tomorrow. In the game between Netherlands and France, our standard market prediction was both teams to score, France to win by 2-1, and my expert pick was halftime over 5.5 goal kicks. And this was actually a tough pill to swallow, as both teams failed to score against each other and the match ended 0-0. And there could have been something to smile about, but unfortunately, only one goal kick was left out of the halftime 5.5 goal kicks that we predicted, and only 5 happened out of the possible 6 that we predicted. Moving on to the game between Argentina and Canada, we predicted Argentina to win by 3-0, and although Argentina did won, we were only one short of goal as the correct score was 2-0, and also the expert prediction fell short of 2 goal kicks as Canada had only 6 goal kicks out of a possible 8 that we predicted. And then in the match between Portugal against Turkey, we predicted Portugal to win or draw, and Portugal won the game by 3-0. And also our expert prediction was on point, as there were 9 goal kicks in the halftime of that game out of a possible 6 that we predicted. Our expert predictions for halftime over 5.5 goal kicks between Switzerland and Germany was on point, as they had exactly 6 goal kicks in the halftime of that game. Also, a prediction model gave Germany a win or draw, and that was also on point. There are still some matches that we predicted last week that came through, so for those that banked on them, they can attest to the fact that yet again, we had about 71% of winning rates on our predictions for last week. So moving away from last week's results, let's now get into the predictions for the top big matches for this week. First up, we got a game coming up from the Copa America between Colombia and Costa Rica. While maybe you might not agree to the fact that this isn't a big game from the Copa America, but you might want to consider the fact that every team that qualified for this competition is definitely there to win. So we can't really write off a team as an outright underdog, but let's get on with the stats for this game. Colombia has won their last 8 matches, and in fact, prior to that, they have been unbeaten in their last 23 matches. And meanwhile, for Costa Rica, they have been unbeaten in their last 3 matches, and interestingly, Costa Rica hasn't even conceded in 3 games. And it will also be interesting to know that Colombia has taken first half leads on 5 occasions in their last 7 games. But if we are to go by the head-to-head in the last 4 games between both teams, Costa Rica has failed to keep a clean sheet. So going by all of these stats, our prediction model still gives Colombia about 70% win. So I'll say Colombia a straight home win with a correct score prediction of 2-0. And my expert prediction on this one will be, say, Colombia to win it half.
Smarter the bank all the time with Betensured. Choose Betensured.
And next up, we got another Copa America fixture between Paraguay and Brazil. And this is quite tricky, but the stats still give Brazil the edge to win. Brazil hasn't lost in the last 4 matches, but one needs to also know that they have failed to keep a clean sheet in their last 3 matches. Although a lot of people expected Brazil to defeat Costa Rica in their first match of the Copa America, but they ended up playing out a stalemate. But definitely going to this game, Brazil will want to do better than what they did in the first game. Paraguay, meanwhile, they have only won once in their last 6 games, keeping 3 clean sheets in the process. And looking at their head-to-head statistics in the last 4 meetings between both teams, Brazil has won all, unbeaten in the last 5, and interestingly hasn't conceded a single goal in 4 occasions against Paraguay. So having known this start, our model is backing Brazil strongly still to go all the way to take the maximum point, and it's a straight win for me for Brazil. So I'll say a straight away win by the score of 2-1, and my expert prediction will be an over 6.5 corner kicks. Now, moving on to the Euros 2024 knockout fixture between Switzerland and Italy coming up on the 29th of June and being the first match of the knockout phase. There is this belief that however the match goes will more like determine the tempo of the rest of the knockout games. But that being said, let's just check out the stats between both teams. And in addition to the matches played during the Euros, Switzerland hasn't lost in their last 7 games, which is a plus to their side. But one thing to note is their poor defense recently, so no clean sheet for them in their last 4 matches. Italy, meanwhile, they qualified for the knockout stage after leaving it late in a 1-1 draw against Croatia with only few seconds left to play. But altogether, Italy hasn't kept a clean sheet in their last 3 matches, and they have also recorded an under 2.5 goals as well during the process. In the head-to-head between both teams, Italy hasn't lost in 8 games, and 6 times out of 7, there have been a record of under 2.5 goals when each team faced each other either in friendlies or in a cup tie. So for the prediction model, I still go for an under 2.5 goals between both sides as my standard pick. I would score tied at a 1-1, and my expert pick will be an over 7.5 corner kicks.
Smarter the bank all the time with Betensured. Choose Betensured.
Now let's move away from the Euros and Copa America for a while. Let's talk about this big game coming up from the Brasileiro Serie A between Vasco da Gama and Botafogo. This one is going to be coming up on the 27th of June. This game is a tied encounter, but looking at the stats, I'll be backing Vasco to win or draw as a standard pick for this one, with the score at 1-0 in favor of the home team. And my expert pick on this game is definitely going to be over 4.5 bookings. And don't forget, you're still listening to the Unshort Zone with Betensured, and definitely Team the Sports Soccer is still your host. On the show, we're still giving you top big matches to look out for this week, as well as predictions on all of them. We've been talking about the Copa America, the Euros 2024 knockout stages. Now let's go into this game that is going to be happening between Canada and Chile from the Copa America on the 30th of June on Sunday. For Canada, they have no wins in their last 3 prior to the Copa America, and in fact, they have been toothless in attack with no goals scored in their last 3 games, including the 2-0 loss against Argentina in the first match of the Copa America. And to note that this is going to be the first official meeting between both teams, so there aren't really any records of how each team's fared against each other. But going by the fact that even though Canada lost to Argentina in the first match of the Copa America, they gave Argentina a run for their money. But we should also consider that Chile are amongst the powerhouses of the South America football, and they are trying to qualify from their group, so it's going to be a tight call, but I see less goals scored in this match. So for my standard market, I'll be going for an under 2.5 goals again, with a correct score tied at 1-0, and my expert pick for this game will be at least a half draw, which means there would be a draw either in the first half or the second half of the match.
Smarter the bank all the time with Betensured. Choose Betensured.
Now, getting back to the Brasileiro Serie A again, we got another big game that will be coming up on the 30th of June. This is between Fortaleza and Juventude. It's a really tight call again, and this time as both teams have a not too convincing form of late. For Fortaleza, they have recorded under 2.5 goals 6 times out of 7 of their last matches, with only 1 win coming up from their last 5. Juventude, meanwhile, they have recorded 2 wins in their last 5 with an average of 1.20 goals in that occasions, and both teams have issues with discipline. And in fact, for Fortaleza, there have been an over 4.5 bookings recorded in 4 of their last 5 matches. Meanwhile, Juventude have seen an over 4.5 bookings in all of their last 6 matches. So for my prediction model, it says the game will see an under 2.5 goals again, with a score tied at 1-0, and my expert pick is going to be over 4.5 bookings.
The Insured Zone. The Insured Zone with Betensured. And now back to the Copa America. On the 1st of July, Mexico will be facing off Ecuador in another group survival clash. And for Ecuador, their defense has been so leaky and they have conceded and been without clean sheet in their last 5 games. But the silver lining is that they have scored first 5 times out of their last 7 games. Ecuador are very big on discipline, and they have recorded under 4.5 cards in 6 of their last 7 games, which means that it wouldn't be wise enough to stake on cards. And looking at Mexico on the other hand, first match in the Copa America ended in a 1-0 win for them against Jamaica, and many will agree that even though they won that game, it was won in an unconvincing manner. So Ecuador are poor in keeping clean sheets. Mexico doesn't really score a plenty. So I think the chance that both teams will score against each other is so high. So I'll be going for both teams to score as my standard pick. I would score at 1-0, and my expert pick will be halftime over 6.5 goal kicks.
And finally, from the Copa America on the 3rd of July, we have Brazil squaring it up against Colombia. The history between both teams tells us that it's always a fierce battle when these two meet, but it has failed to produce lots of goals, with both teams flexing their muscles and technicality. But I still see Brazil having a slight advantage, and I go for Brazil home win or draw, with a score at 2-1 in favor of Brazil. And knowing that there have been more odd goals counts recorded in the 5 of their last meetings, my expert pick for this one will be full-time odd goals. And that's that on our predictions for this week. And now to go again on the recap: Colombia home straight win against Costa Rica with a score at 2-0, and our expert pick is gonna be home win either half. Brazil away to Paraguay, we're going for Brazil to win with a score at 2-1 in favor of Brazil, and expert pick is gonna be over 6.5 corners, and under 2.5 in Switzerland versus Italy with a score at 1-0 and over 7.5 corners. Vasco da Gama home win or draw versus Botafogo with a score at 1-1, and our expert pick is over 4.5 bookings. On the 2.5 goals in Canada versus Chile with the score at 1-0, and expert pick is at least a first half draw. On the 2.5 in Fortaleza versus Juventus with a score at 1-0, and our expert pick for that one is for over 4.5 bookings. And both teams to score in Mexico versus Ecuador with a score at 1-1, and our expert pick is halftime over 6.5 goal kicks. And finally, Brazil win or draw versus Colombia at 2-1 in favor of Brazil, and our expert pick is full-time all goals. And alright guys, that's all for today's episode of the Ensured Zone. Thank you so much for joining me on this football journey. Remember, our predictions are not just guesses, they are informed insights based on data and inside analysis. Don't forget to catch us next week for more predictions, analysis, and football fun. Subscribe to the channel and follow us on social media at Betensured INT to stay up to date with all the latest content. And don't forget to also visit our website at www.betensured.com. My name is Tintim, the Sports Soccer. Until next week, bye-bye.
The Ensured Zone with Betensured.